Hey guys, this is Locke. In this video, I'm going to show you how to effectively use Driz. I've seen a lot of people talking about how Driz is underperforming for them, and I'm going to show you how I think you should be using him. He does actually perform well, in my opinion, if you built him correctly with the team that's meant to support him, and I will kind of get into that. But first of all, I'm going to try to talk about a misconception that I've been seeing a lot of people mention. So, a lot of people that I've seen repeatedly mention that my Driz is doing less damage than Usha in the same team. And I think if you have both Driz and Usha on the same team, you're not really using Driz properly. And I'll tell you why. So, if you have Usha on any team, Usha needs Frost to function. So there's only two ways you can set up a team with both Usha and Driz on the same team. You're either going to have a team something like this, where you have a unit that will specifically meant to apply Frost often on the enemy so that Usha can benefit from that, or you're going to have a team like this, where Driz is going to have pretty high accuracy. Forget the stats that it's showing right now, but you're going to have Driz as your main Frost dealer, and you're going to build him for accuracy such that, obviously he's not built for damage, so he's not doing as much damage as Usha. In the second case, in where, Driz is the main Frost applier, you can obviously see why he's doing less damage than Usha, because obviously he doesn't have as much offensive stats as Usha. That's why he's doing less damage. And I think a lot of people are okay with that. But I think in the second example, where you have a different Frost dealer and you have Usha, benefiting from that Frost, and then you have built Driz as your main offense, not as your main, but as an offensive person with similar stats to Usha, and you see that Driz isn't getting as high numbers as Usha, you're disappointed. I think that that's a little bit of an unfair comparison. The reason for that is because you have a unit here specifically there to help Usha do more damage. Driz also does benefit from Frost, but it's very, very minimal compared to Usha. Usha benefits from Frost significantly because two of her skills do twice as much damage with somebody on the team applying Frost. So what you're actually ending up comparing is you're comparing the damage potential of these two units together against Driz. And I mean, that's another slot. Like, instead of having somebody like this, you can have a different support unit that can benefit the whole team. Like, you can have, for example, Voresh, which is going to give your team more heals. You can have Thea, again, more heals, more defensive stats, things like that. But this unit like that, a unit like Thea or Voresh is going to help both Usha and Driz a lot. Whereas if you have something like this unit is mostly there just to help Usha. To drill home the point, I'm actually going to show you a few examples. So I'm going to start with this one, and I hope you will see that Oster usually would do even more damage than Usha, but let's just assume here, I'm going to give a bit of grace to Usha, and let's say that Oster deals the same damage as Usha. So whatever damage that Oster is dealing right now, let's just, for argument's sake, let's just say that Oster is doing the same damage output as Usha. So in this team, I instead have my Driz built this way so that he has 300 accuracy. He's going to be my main accuracy person, my Frost user. Obviously, Oster is going to have so much more offensive stats. Like, he has a crit damage of 246%. Very high crit rate, very high attack. This is how my Oster is built. But take a look at Driz and take a look at Gulind. Both of these guys have very similar stats. Like, they both have similar attack, 92% crit, 95% crit, and similar crit damage as well. And they both also have about 300 accuracy. So they're both built kind of similarly. So we can make a few observations with that. But let's start the fight, and I will talk about it. So right away, we can see that Usha, or Oster in this case, is doing significantly more damage, which is kind of what I expect, because that is how Oster is built. I'm not really wasting any stats with accuracy or health or defense. They're very minimal stats. Everything is into crit damage, crit rate, and attack. And so Oster is doing a lot of damage. But take a look at Driz and Gulind. They both have similar stats as well, but Driz is doing significantly more damage than Gulind. So this is the first point that I wanted to make. If you're using Driz as your frost applier, he actually does a lot of damage for the role of frost applying, because you have him built with high accuracy, and with high accuracy he's still able to deal out quite a bit of damage. Not as much damage as a full-on damage dealer, but he is getting a lot, quite a bit. Now you can see this is a huge difference, right? 28% of attack, 26% of attack versus 16% of attack. To me, that's pretty significant. So if you're building him in this way, and you are putting him next to Usha, and he is the main frost applier, I think he does the job pretty well. Like, he is going to do a little bit less damage, obviously, because he's built with high accuracy instead of offensive stats. But for the role of a frost applier with high accuracy, he does quite a bit of damage. And because of the way that he's built, his ultimate hits 6 times, you can actually put Witch's Remains or I forgot the name of the other artifact, the artifact that applies defense break. Both of these have 6 times the chance to apply it. So you have a very high chance of applying these defense breaks with him. So he's very good in that role. You can use him as a frost enabler and a defense break unit, and build him with 300 accuracy, and he gets the job done. So you can use him in that way. I'm not going to let this fight finish, but I'm going to tell you what happens. And I'm actually going to show you a screenshot at the end of this video as well, which kind of shows you what happens at the end. So basically, after doing about 12 million in damage, Oster dies. Because Oster is built this way that he just does a lot of damage, I could build Oster to be more defensive, but the overall effect is that Oster ends up doing less damage before he dies if I build him more defensive. This is the way that I was able to build him, that he does the most amount of damage. So he does 12 million damage, and then he dies. And then afterwards, everyone else dies one by one as well. And the net effect is that Oster did 40% of damage to this boss, and Driz ends up doing 33% of damage. The total damage done for this boss is about 35 million. I'm not going to go through the whole fight because we have to wait here another 4 minutes, and I don't really have anything else to talk about this here. But I hope you can take my word for it. But you can see right now here the total damage that I done. I did it with this team right here. I'm just going to exit here to show you. The total damage that I did with this team is 35.8 million. And that was the team I just used. I can show you a screenshot at the end of this video as well, which can show you that. But this team is built around Oster being the main damage dealer, and I need somebody else with Frost to support him. This team is not built to utilize Driz. I will show you instead a team that you can use to utilize Driz. And that is this team. I'm actually going to go through the units first. So this is how Driz is built. He has a lot more crit damage, much less accuracy, right? Attack is a little bit higher, but not much higher. But the main stat here, the main difference here is the crit damage. The other unit, these three stayed the same. Gulind stayed the same. This guy stayed the same, and she also stayed the same. I didn't change anything of their stats. But instead of using Oster, I'm now using Warish. Warish is obviously going to do a lot less damage than Oster. Oster is built straight up as an attacking role. Warish is instead built as a supporting character. He is the unit that is applying the defense break. His stats are not as high as Oster. He only has 53% crit rate, 124% crit damage, but he has 300 accuracy to apply the defense break. And yeah, I mean, so what's the difference between Oster and Warish? Well, Warish is going to help the entire team survive a lot more, right? I don't have anyone on this team that is doing Frost. My Driz does do Frost, but accuracy was 45. I don't expect him to land Frost on this boss often at all. I mean, since he has 3 chances to land it, it might land here and there by some luck, but that's not what this team is built around. This team is just built around Drizzt doing as much damage as possible and everyone else on the team supporting him. Usha or Oster is not on this team and taking resources to themselves. If I had Usha or Oster on this team instead of Varish, they're not going to perform well unless I put a Frost Enabler on this team. So basically, I have to give up 2 spots to put Usha or Oster, or I have to build Drizzt as a Frost Enabler, right? So let's take a look at this team, which is built around what's his name? Which is built around Drizzt. So obviously Drizzt is doing as much damage as possible, but everyone else is built around supporting him. In this team, he performs really, really well. I don't know what I'm going to say is going to take the entire duration, but I'll give you a synopsis. I'm going to tell you the ending. I did this fight before. So what happened today was I did my Vortex run, and as you saw, I did 35 million with the team I just showed you earlier. So I saved that as my damage because I thought that was my best team. And then I wanted to do this video where I showed you, okay, well, that might be a team that I'm using, but this is a team that you can use with Drizzt. This is how you'd utilize Drizzt. And then I saw the end number, and I did way more damage with this team, which really surprised me because I ended up doing close to 39 million. I think it was a little bit more than 39, but 30, 38, 39, 40, about that, more than my first team. And I'm not using Oster. Oster is built as a full-on damage dealer, and instead I have Drizzt here, doing more damage. Like, this whole team is doing more damage because the entire team is built to support everyone. Like, there isn't anybody being as selfish as Oster/Usha. Nobody's there only to support them, to only apply Frost, just so that one specific damage dealer will benefit. This team, everyone is benefiting. Gul'Ind is giving everybody heals, is applying attack penalty so that everyone will benefit. Varish is giving everybody heals, keeping them all alive longer, so on and so on, right? Everyone is benefiting from this team. But with the first team, I need somebody specifically for Oster/Usha to benefit from that Frost. So I hope you can kind of see what I'm saying here. So if you have a team built right now for Usha, right? You have a Frost team built, you have Usha as your main damage dealer. You take Usha out and you put Drizzt in, that team is not going to perform much better than your original team. The reason is because Drizzt doesn't really benefit so much from Frost. So if you have a Frost team and you replace somebody, replace Usha with Drizzt, he's not going to benefit much from Frost. Your overall damage is probably going to be very similar, if not even a little bit lower, So if you are using Drizzt, you have to build the whole team around him. Like, you don't need to have any Frost anymore. You can actually build more heals, more attack breaks, more shields, whatever you need, but actual support. You can even have a second damage dealer that absolutely doesn't need Frost, right? We can have I can't think of anyone right now off the top of my head, but like somebody like Zarloth or something, right? Like, you can have more heals. You can have other things that doesn't need Frost to run. So if you have a team, a Frost team, and you're expecting Drizzt to do well in it, he's just not going to because he doesn't need Frost to function. So if you have a team with Usha and Drizzt, either Usha is going to underperform because you don't have a reliable Frost unit, or Usha is going to outperform because you have a reliable Frost unit, and that reliable Frost unit isn't really adding anything to Drizzt. So I hope I'm making my point clear. It's not that Drizzt sucks, or sometimes he's better, or sometimes he's not. It's that you need an actual team built around Drizzt for him to do well. And you know what? In a lot of cases, that just might not be you. Like, you might just not have the units you need to run Drizzt that's not Frost units, Like, you already have a team built for Usha, and you're looking at the units that you can run with Drizzt. Maybe you have Varish, but who else can you run? I don't know. And you might say, well, even if I get this guy, I'm not really going to be able to run him, so I'm not going to get him. And that's totally fine. It's not that he sucks. It's not that he doesn't work. It's that you need a team built around him to succeed. But it's the same thing with Usha. Like, imagine using Usha without a Frost enabler. She's going to suck, right? So you need the correct team to use the units properly. The game is a little bit about team building. Um, yeah, so I mean, with all that said, do I recommend pulling for Driz? Okay, so first of all, I think the first thing I have to say is if you really like Driz, if you really like him as a character, if you have some attachment to him, I think you should pull for him because I think that people get more enjoyment from these kind of games if they're using units they like. But aside from that fact, should you pull for him? It depends on if you have the units. If you have the units for him to run him effectively, that you can, you're not just plugging in and playing, you're not just removing Usha and putting him in, but you're thinking about it and you're like, actually, I can run him with this and this and this guy, and that will actually perform well. For example, I can run uh, Driz, a tank, Thea, Zarloth, and Warish. There's nobody there that's applying frost. Everyone is there just to support each other. That's a pretty good team. There's three guys that would do healing. There's also, all of them are doing damage, kind of, except for the what's it called? Except for your tank. You also have somebody applying the immunity debuff, which is Thea. Well, the immunity debuff is not really going to help for the melee units, but it somewhat helps, right? But anyway, that's the point. Like that's what I'm trying to say. Like you are going to build, if you're able to build a team that's only built around supporting Driz and not built around applying frost, Driz will perform well. So if you're able to build that kind of team, or if you hope to build that kind of team one day, then yes, Driz would work for you. Like Driz would perform well, but you have to build that kind of team. You can't just expect him to do as well in a frost team as Usha because he just doesn't benefit so much from frost. But if you're looking at your units and you don't have the units needed to run him well, then maybe you shouldn't pull for him. Like if you're expecting him to do his job, if you're expecting him to do a lot of damage, but you just don't have the units you need to support him, then he's not going to perform well for you. He's not going to do as well as Usha is currently doing for you. So you have to really make sure that you build a team around him for him to function. Otherwise, you're going to be disappointed. So I hope this video is hopefully making that clear that he does perform well, but only if you have the team to make use of that. You can't just put him in a different team he's not supposed to be built around. There's also another consideration that you should be thinking of. The season is ending in like less than a month, I think, and at the end of the season, you get these pages, and every 10 pages, along with Heliolite dice, you get a legendary. Most people will probably get 20 of these pages, so you can get 20. Sorry, not 20. You can get 2 legendary units as long as you have 20 Heliolite dice, and then you have to kind of save to get 20 Heliolite dice, right? So maybe instead of getting Driz, you want to save your summons to get, those 2 legendary units. At least one. I think most people in the server should at least be able to get 1 legendary unit because you'll able to save 10 of those pages. But I think a fair amount of people will probably get 20 pages. So, maybe it's okay to not get Driz because you need specific units to work for him, and maybe it's okay instead just to save your dice and get those 1 or 2 new legendaries instead. So yeah, you have to kind of take a look at your team to see if this is going to work or not. The other thing I kept hearing about Driz is that the Panther dies too fast. The boss has 120 stacks and he's still not dead yet, Obviously, I have a lot of units that are supporting, but hey, take a look. Like, Driz is dead, my tank is dead, and the Panther is still alive. So, at least against this Vortex boss, the Panther doesn't really have any trouble keep staying alive, right? So, in PvP, though, Driz does suck. I don't think he's built for PvP at all. If there's a way to use him in PvP, that's great, but I don't think so. And the Panther is the last to die, so I don't really think that's a problem with the Vortex boss anyway. In PvP, it's not that great. In certain PvE stages, Driz might perform and not. Like, it really depends how many enemies there are. If there's a lot of enemies, it's possible that the Panther and Driz are attacking different targets. Against boss fights, though, he excels. Boss fights are, against just one boss most of the time. So both him and the Panther will be attacking that boss, and he will get a lot more damage output. Um, if you're going to look at this and say, well, you have all these different legendary units, so you can easily keep Driz alive. Well, that is true, but at the same time, like, you know, I'm also keeping Oster alive as well, right? Like in the other formation that I showed you, this one, I'm using all the same units, but Oster is dying. You know, so sorry, that's not the equipment, but Oster is dying. So like with the setup, Oster is still dying, but the Panther is alive. With the setup, the Panther outlives my tank, and whatever other units that are here. So although you might not have these units to support them and make them have as much shielding or HP or something, for the setup that you have, the Panther is able to survive as well as other people. That's what I find, other heroes. So that's it for this video. If you have questions or comments, leave them down below. I really like the comments from the last video because I had a lot of people saying different things because people are experimenting. Like I had one guy say the Panther dies too fast, and another guy say the Panther is the last one on my team to die. So I think that's great because it encourages discussion, right? And it makes people think, and hey, why is the Panther being alive for this guy but not for me? It makes you think about it and come up with different setups to use. So I think that's great. But yeah, leave your comments below. I wish I had not done this earlier today. I wish I had not saved it because I would have had 39 million. I would have had an extra 4 million damage if I had done this video first instead of instead of just do this and get stuck with 35 million. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you can see that Driz doesn't suck. You just need to have the team to support him for him to outperform. But I think he does his job well as long as you built a team around him. You built him as your main damage dealer. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope I'll see you guys next time. Take care now.